Dave.
Ian.
And guests. We've tricked two guests into joining us tonight. JP and Michael from the Bid Nerds podcast. Welcome, and we're sorry.
Sound like us. Yeah. We inflict our show on our audience, and it sounds like that is something we have in common.
Yes, usually my sign off is "thank you, sorry." So that's kind of the vibe here. So for anyone who doesn't know, I was lucky enough to be on your show a couple weeks ago. Bid Nerds is a very fun format. You get to it's like an interactive, Price is Right format for car auctions. How did all of that come about? Like, what was the origin of that?
Man, everyone in the world is watching and has been watching the BAT auctions. If you're a car fan, it's just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger over the years. I know my partner Michael Deeb and I have been watching those auctions since before BAT was even an auction site. So when it kind of hit peak there, when everyone was stuck at home for a while, it was like, you know what? The one of the biggest challenges for making a YouTube channel is consistently coming up with something to talk about. I'm sure you guys can relate with that, right? So we were like, man, this is just like nonstop content where a couple of total loser slackers like Michael and I don't have to do anything to come up with. There's just a list that's published every day of things to talk about, and everyone loves Price is Right. What do you think, Michael Deeb?
I like my version of the story better, and that was from about 2017 to early 2020. JP and I were affiliated with God and Porsche, and we got to work together with a bunch of classic Porsches and stuff. And that was in Las Vegas. So when the COVID thing hit and the world shut down, my wife and I had to head back to the Bay Area, to San Francisco, where I live, and help my sister reopen the family restaurant and that sort of thing. So I had been in back in the Bay Area and making pretty frequent trips back to the desert as JP was doing a really cool Cars und Cafe for air-cooled cars in the really cool arts district of Las Vegas. So I would migrate back, pretty much every other month for most of 2020. And at the end of 2020, after what felt like a really painful breakup because I had to move back to the Bay Area, JP said to me one day, looking down at the ground, he's like, "Would you want to do a podcast with me?" And I was like, "Really? Me? You're picking me?" And I said, "Abso-fucking-lutely." And so we jumped on, and the early days, you guys would crack up since you're accomplished podcasters now. We were trying to go live in two different rooms in his condo, 30 floors up, and we're on Instagram going live on our cell phones. I mean, the roots of our show are, I don't want to say this because I don't produce it, but they were pretty pathetic. And but we've come a long way, and now we get celebrity hosts like you, Ian. And so it's been really fun. We've been off and on for 3 years, 3.5 years, maybe. What do we call it, JP? I mean, we're rolling now. We're moving. The live format that we're doing right now is arguably, or without question, I would say the funnest and most engaging. But that was kind of it. We got split up by COVID, and it was like a fun way to stay in touch. And a sign of the times was when you met with your car friends, you talked about, did you see that really cool car that just closed? Did you see that number? Holy shit, what were they thinking? For better or for worse. And so John, because he's the creative genius of this mastermind thing, figured out a way for us to take that conversation to the airwaves. And so here we are.
I do like the idea that do you want to start a podcast with me is basically like the middle-aged white guy version of like a friendship bracelet at this point, right?
Yeah. Right. I've been pinned to him since sophomore year, and it's been great.
But I think our origin story is pretty similar, right? Where Dave and I got set up essentially on a date by our wives. And Dave was like, the next time we hang out, we're going to record it. And that was how he roped me into this.
I got down on one knee. Yeah. I hired a photographer to record it. Yeah.
Well, look, when you're trying to find a podcast partner, it's like there's a lot of criteria. Like, okay, expertise, who knows cars, who has no life, and is willing to, make a commitment to X amount of time per week. I mean, that's and let's be honest, it's the latter, which is the most important of the criteria. Let's just get to it.
No,
it's true.
That's a great point, because I think, like, ultimately something that really resonates with folks is when people have a podcast and ultimately the through line is that they're just friends, right? Yeah. Like Ian and Dave are friends. JP and Michael are friends. The show, right? Friends-ish. Yeah.
Or at least
let's just say it's good that we have 1,000 or so miles between us, right? I mean,
frenemies is even better. That's even more compelling.
Right? Yeah. There's antagonism, right? Like, this is man versus man. Yeah, right?
Yeah. When we see turquoise and I go, that's blue, he says it's green. You know what I'm saying?
I like that. Yeah. No, that's great. I love the show format. Yeah, it's delightful. It's such a great source of content. I mean, whenever there's amongst friends, I think a lot of like car folks have this in common, that whenever a certain kind of car, a certain make, model, specific thing comes up on one of these sites, anywhere. Right? Like you're texting someone, like you're always we're always texting about a Saab Viggen. Should one come up anywhere, right? Because we're that masochistic, right? But so
somebody ordered torch steer?
Yes, all of it. Yes, that would be me. So I love that, like, people connect over like these auctions and the content that shows up. Yeah, it's fantastic.
It's really well. Go ahead, JP.
No, go ahead, Deep.
Well, what JP was alluding to earlier was this incredible flow of content that is coming, because every day you turn it on, there's 100 new cars between all the major sites. And in the early days, when the two of us truly had no life because the world had shut down, we were doing 5 cars a day, 5 days a week. If you could imagine,
that you were a daily show for a while.
We were daily with 5 cars. Now we barely.
So it was reconciliations of the bids that we had made the day before, and new bids. So technically, each episode we were talking about 10 cars.
Yeah, every episode. The show was like an hour to 2 hours long, and nobody was watching it. Like 4 views, and she's like, I think we should change it up. And I'm like, no, it's great. Don't mess with it. Because I don't know what I'm talking about. But now, now that the world is open for business again, and we do, I try to have lives. It's amazing how we struggle to be able to get 3 or 4 cars on there and do that twice a week. We were doing it once a week, but now we're doing it twice a week and live, and it's really come together. The other fun thing has been, what has really kicked us up a notch was John's like, okay, we got to put our heads together and think, who could we invite that would be dumb enough to ruin their reputation and come on the show with us? And every time we have a guest, we call him a third nerd.
Nice.
We get a spectacular spike in viewership because there's somebody else on there that makes the show 100% more interesting. So that's a really big deal for us. So if anybody is dumb enough to invite us on, we feel obligated to say yes, because we know what we can do for a show,
No, we really appreciate it. Yeah, so thank you for being the podcast couple we're swinging with this evening. Yeah.
Well, what's the safe word? Vegan?
Exactly.
Is this like a tea party? Like, what room do I go to?
Yeah.
Well, Deeb had mentioned something earlier. He's like, if he says blue, I say it's green. And he's half joking, but he knows that there's real truth to that because all podcasts, all videos, all content ultimately is storytelling. Deeb and I make great partners for the show because we know how to kind of mess with each other a little bit, and disagreement is what makes things entertaining. So yeah, I absolutely deliberately try to disagree as often as possible. I am the resident a-hole. Having third nerds on just makes it that much more fun. And then now that we're live, and we really have kind of developed this small but insanely loyal live chat.
Give them the name.
Yeah, and they're called the Nerd Herd, and the Nerd Herd just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. By the episode, it feels like we always have new people in the herd, and these people, they come on, they discover the channel, whether it's through a recommendation or it's YouTube, steers them to it, and they are just in there. If the show's an hour, they're there the whole time. If it's 2 hours, they're there the whole damn time, and they're interacting with one another. And we don't even know what's going on over there anymore. It's like, all right, this is great.
Right,
Ian, you'll appreciate this. It's like a car wreck. Once they start to watch, they can't avert their eyes.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say that was something I mentioned when I was in the studio, was that I was impressed with how well you handled the distraction of live interaction, because Dave and I tried that for a while, and it was a disaster. Like I would just get lost, reading things, and the show only works when the two of us are talking to each other. And you guys have kind of figured out a format where you can, one of you can read a comment while the other one is giving an opinion, giving a take. You kind of have a little bit more of a structure that way. Whereas if Dave and I aren't having a conversation, it just doesn't work. The live feedback thing was
you said the word there. It's structure. It's having the format and the structure allows for specific times for you to say, okay, we're gonna intro a car. Everyone gets their turn. Then before we go to bids, then I'll find that's the gap as we're handing the ball back and forth to one another. That's in those gaps is where we insert Nerd Herd comments, and then but that's the benefit of having the structure, and that's the benefit of the concept, is that it's just a list of cars, and we just repeat.
Dave, don't be seduced by JP's making it sound like it's easy. It took years to develop.
It's a pain in the butt.
Format. And what JP is omitting from this conversation is that we have, there's about 24 super loyal repeat that watch every episode. Yeah. They've all become friends in the chat with one another, and one of them keeps score of all of the guys that are watching, because it's the same guys that put their bid in as we're going over and reviewing a car. So we have a guy in the herd that literally will post Anthony's bid and Buddha's bid and Randy's bid. It's Randy that does it. Everybody else's bid, Ross's and all the guys. He chucks them all in there for us. Like, without him, it would be a soup sandwich. It would not work as well as it does right now. So we are super grateful that we have such loyal, two handfuls of really loyal guys, and one of them, it's more organized than we are together.
Never, ever underestimate a nerd with free time. That's the reason we have the fucking internet, man. We have so much of our lives because a nerd got bored, Yeah. So
I love that you have a self-appointed forum moderator.
Yeah.
Literally.
That's amazing.
He's the den mom.
Yeah.
That's so great.
That's exactly what you do.
Yeah. Like this Lord of the Flies thing.
For now, we can't fire him.
I know,
I'm scared of when they revolt.
So this is actually a really good segue to one of the questions that I had written down, which is, we're both tech people as our day jobs, and this is kind of our creative thing that we do on the side. But so we're both sort of obsessed and always have been about little cultural cul-de-sacs on the internet, especially when it comes around cars, about how the mood on the Prius forums is very different than VW Vortex, and one of the things I was curious to hear you guys reflect on is, we spend a lot of time looking at Craigslist posts and Facebook Marketplace posts and the I know what I have, no lowballers, all those sorts of old saws.
Yeah.
what do you see as like the cultural stylistic differences between the places that you guys frequent? Like is the writing on Bring a Trailer different, and the way that the cars are presented very different than P-Car or whatever? And then like the commenters, are they saying different things?
Okay, so JP is going to have a really good answer for this because he truly spends time on just those two forums plus a handful of other Porsche specialty ones. But John sends me Craigslist ads, I kid you not, 4 times a week on average, and a Facebook marketplace at least once a week, because he finds stuff that is in my region of the country because he knows I'll go look at it for him. I'm his crawler. So he gets to shop liberally in LA, San Francisco, and Seattle that I know of. And of course, he's got Vegas on lockdown, which is really funny. But then later I can speak to the online auction stuff because I'm in the business. So I get to read a lot of that crap. But JP, you can answer the Craigslist thing better than I could. I just don't do it.
Yeah, I mean, look, our show is predicting the auction results of cars, of enthusiast and sports cars, right? So you got to check all those other places to see what's going on in the market to have a real understanding of what the value of some of these cars are. And let's face it, I'm not very good at it, but I do enjoy looking through all those crappy ads. There is one fundamental difference when it comes to a Craigslist and Facebook ad versus one of the auction sites, is that the sellers aren't the ones who are writing the ad copy for Bring a Trailer or any of the auction platforms. So when and that's something that a lot of people don't realize. And that's like, of course, we get people asking us all the time, how do I list a car on BAT? They have all kinds of anxiety about the idea of doing so because they think they're the ones that have to actually create the content. And it's like, no, it's just like signing up for a social media platform. You just fill out a bunch of fields and then their their writers go ahead and write the copy and create the ad for better or worse. And the quality of writers from one platform to the other is drastically different. Obviously, P-Car Market, that is closest to a Craigslist or Facebook Market place ad. The people who run that particular platform pretty much have a reputation of just being old school used car salesmen from back east, and they just they omit things. And
I would champion that more than that. Like, I don't think it's as reflective of a Craigslist or a Facebook Marketplace as much as it feels like you're being talked to by somebody who's a car salesman in a domestic store, like a Dodge or whatever.
Okay.
Because they're just like, they're like, hey, like, what about the tires? Are the tires going to get, oh, you don't have to worry about the tires. What about if I could get you this payment, would you buy today? That's more what it feels like with the P-Car Market.
Okay.
But to their credit, and I don't know if this is any credit, but to their advantage, they are writing their own ads, whereas somebody like BAT has a team of writers that are just kids, and they pay them $100 per car to write the ad. So they're doing as many as they can. They're not very good. And oftentimes, especially like as a Porsche person, John and I can read a Porsche ad on BAT and we'll know right away if the person knows what a Porsche is or not, because there's just obvious things that are either missing or glazed over or whatever with all the particular generations. And if they're not addressed, or not spoken to in a certain manner, or if they describe something incorrectly without using the Porsche vernacular, because it's a brand that really does have its own language, we can tell right away that it was just written by some kid that was in it for the $100, not because it's a car person, which is kind of a bummer,
Yeah. Well, I mean, BAT, they're putting out 100 cars a day they're fielding. Cars and Bids, the next biggest, what's that, Deep?
7 days a week.
Yeah, 7 days a week. Cars and Bids, that's Doug DeMiro's platform. He's maybe on a good day doing a couple dozen, but usually about a dozen. And then P-Car Market's doing 5, 6, maybe a dozen on their best day. And that's 5 days a week. So BAT is far and away, they're eating everyone's lunch, and that is the one to beat. My partner, Michael, he works for Haggerty, and they're doing the same thing, but their platform has some pretty fundamental differences from all the other platforms, and I'll let him explain that. But it's just, the thing is though, BAT, with that many cars needing ad copy written, you can imagine the logistics of all the writers and all the content and everything,
Yeah.
and how much quality control can you really do? But that's what the community's for. And I think that was part of the second part of his question, is that what happens when the ad copy is incorrect? It is corrected quickly, with haste by the
in the hour.
Yeah, it's nuts how there are people who, our hobby is to kind of watch the auctions and watch the results and talk about them. But there are legions of people out there that are keyboard warriors that all they want to do is find something wrong with a listing and get in there and make comments. And they're typically very low status people that don't have a lot of pull in their regular life, so when they get a chance to go out there and exert their superiority, they do it. That bolt is not right on.
I believe. I was going to say, well, actually,
Dave, there's a graph somewhere that quantifies this, but 80% of those keyboard warriors live at home with their mother.
Yeah. So but the thing is, it's the community of commenters there, and there is that small percentage of them that have a big voice and have a big presence in the community. But a lot of times they uncover BS, and that's good because it keeps the most of the listings on all three platforms are kept honest because of the community being in there and getting down to the nitty gritty. Even PCAR Market, that a platform that if they had their way, they would just lie through their teeth. If they had no one checking their lies, they would just go, hey, here we go. But they can't get away with the stuff that they'd like to get away with, and that's why you see so often PCAR Market has something called the deal tank. We like to call it the chum bucket, and that's different from the other platforms. If a car fails to sell at the end of the auction, it goes into a classifieds list that they call the deal tank. We call it the chum bucket because it's just basically full of failed cars at way
There's a
over
Ferrari Testarossa desk lamp on there. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It looks like a phallus. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
it's a desk lamp. It's a desk lamp, Mom. Really.
Why is it covered in Vaseline?
Comes in a nondescript brown package.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it is. I will say it is genuinely amazing. That's always one of my favorite things about. I don't read it all the Brewing a Trailer posts or all the Cars and Bids posts, but those two in particular, I feel like when like anytime there's a Saab online, Dave and I will get texts, or if there's a Volkswagen R32, I will always get a text from somebody. And it's amazing if you scroll down, it doesn't matter how like crazy obscure the car is, there's someone in the thing that says, I've had 6 of these. I know they only made 14 of them, but I had 6 of them.
Yeah.
And this is what you got to watch out for. And they have like way better information than the
more obscure car it is, the more likely one or two guys have all of them.
Yeah.
Right.
I
have personal experience with this. Yes.
I produce a lot of content, not just Bid Nerds, but one of our other shows. I have a partner, a very good friend of ours. We reference him often, Rami. I'm in the Rami studio. He, on one of his shows, he had joked around about how his girlfriend had an 80s LeBaron. And so I went out, the next day and got on Craigslist and found one for sale. Yeah, it was. So I go out to look at it. It was a couple of grand. I was expecting it to be just a complete pile of crap, but I just needed it to run enough to get from the seller's house to my buddy's house when we were going to do the podcast that night. And so I get there and I'm looking at it and I'm going, and I was in a hurry. Like I literally had like an hour and a half to get back and do this live podcast. And I'm like, wait a minute, this thing's really. What the hell? This is really nice.
You called me. I remember that. Yeah. That was hilarious.
So I paid the guy, and I'm driving it back, and it had 50,000 original miles. This thing was like hermetically sealed. It was a convertible manual 1988 LeBaron with white on like navy blue pleather. It was
What?
And I couldn't believe how nice this
K-Series
car. Yeah.
platform. Yeah.
The only thing that didn't work was the little the pop-up covers for the headlights, the
Oh, yeah.
motor.
Yeah.
So, like, because our plan was literally to blow the car up. I showed up, Rami came out, he thought it was hilarious. That was the whole shtick. And then we're talking about blowing up, and we're all looking at it going, we can't, this is way too nice. This is way too nice. And this was early. This was early 2020. So things had just shut down. Cars and Bids was brand new. BAT had been around a while. So it was like, I decided, you know what, I'm going to clean it up and I'm going to put it on one of these sites. And that's exactly what we did.
Professional Getty photographer went out in the desert and took these stunning photos that would have made a better physical brochure than whatever they used to sell the car in the first place 25 years ago. Do you know what I mean? The photographs were stunning. And JP goes, I think I'm going to put it on Cars and Bids. And it was just the perfect weird car to do that. And John hit it out of the park. But the point I'm bringing up is that when you were talking about the people that have all of them, I needed that part for the headlight cover. So I get online and there's a guy in Vegas that has like 6 of them in his parking lot, right? And he's like, oh yeah, I can fix that in 5 minutes for him. I'm like, there
really?
It is.
Yeah. Can you find the white one? Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
Look at that shot. Isn't that great?
You picked up rollers on it, man.
Doesn't that look like the brochure? Give me a break, man. Yeah, Iacocca just teared up a little bit.
But you found the LeBaron Hoarder, I assume.
Yeah. And he was like, oh, I'll buy it for $3,000. I'm like, yeah, we're going to put it on the thing and see what happens. It's just for content. You can bid on it there. It'll probably only get up to $2,500. And you can see there at the bottom, it hit almost $6,000. That was before things got crazy. That was the most money a LeBaron had been sold for anywhere since 1988. I mean, it was
probably pretty close to the MSRP, right?
Probably.
They were around 8. Yeah.
Yeah.
The greatest thing about it was that the guy who bought it, he brought his girlfriend into town. I had said in the ad, I'm like, if you come to town, I will put you up in a casino or a hotel on the Strip right across from where I live, and you can make a weekend out of it. So they flew in, and they were so excited about it. And the guy that I don't know if I can say this online, like his girlfriend was the great granddaughter of Motorola, like literally a billionaire. Like they owned like an astronaut's house from the 50s. I mean, it's wow. And they wanted this car because it was like, LA is so douchey. We want something cool and kitschy. And they came out and they didn't stay at the hotel, but they love the car. And I'm still friends with him today. And he's a huge fan of the show. And we talked, I saw him just a few weeks ago. He came into town.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
We've had him guest nerd on the show while he was like in his vacation house in Mexico. I mean, he's such a nice guy.
Matt, can you come on? I don't know how good the internet is in Gestad.
There is something odd about this because I know a guy who knows a very wealthy brewing person here in Colorado. He had at one time, one of these LeBarons with the wood grain. I was in his garage with tons of cars and saw one of these myself.
Costanza right there, yeah.
Yeah, what is more money equals more LeBaron? Yeah.
More K car.
We like to call it the LeBron. Thank you very much. The
LeBron, yes.
Yeah. I see that authentic simulated wood grain paneling, and I think of what was it, Clark Griswold in the Family Truckster, right?
Yeah. My parents' first minivan had that. Yeah. And second. Yeah.
Rocking the Las Vegas Boulevard in that LeBaron was so much fun. Because, there's exotic rental cars everywhere and all kinds of stuff. But I had a bright yellow R8 convertible driving down the Strip. Everyone just thinks you're a midlife crisis rental car guy. But nothing, hands down, I don't know, the Volkswagen thing or the LeBron on the Strip, the two greatest cars to cruise the Strip if you ever get a chance.
I love that. I think there is that kind of and we wanted to get to this where there is that kind of with Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace versus kind of cars and bids, we wanted your perspective on like that expectation to purchase to kind of like how they truly receive the vehicle, right? And I think that it's really interesting that it kind of runs the gamut in that like people are actively seeking out LeBarons, right? And for that amount of money, not being disappointed in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. Right. And kind of people's experiences with that through like the auction life cycle to delivery, like with a car like that, like you said, versus something that you would more often see on a platform like that. Yeah. Like what has been your experience around that kind of like that expectation, satisfaction, those kinds of pieces post, winning the auction?
Deeb, I'm going to hop in here, and I know Deeb has a lot of experience with this, but one thing I want to make clear that a lot of people do not understand about the top 3 auction sites, and most of them, they are essentially a dating site. Mm-hmm. So when you win an auction, there is no mechanism to automate the payment. Haggerty is different, and again, Deeb will explain that. But with BAT, P-Car Market, Cars and Bids, MB Marketplace, all of the other sites, you win the bid, you win the auction page, the platform extracts their percentage from your credit card, so they take their fee, and then they give you a phone number. It's Match.com, man. They're like, here you go. Gotcha. Go on a date.
Yeah, good luck.
Consummate your transaction. Don't bother us. We've got better things to do. You're on your own.
Good. Your fault for swiping. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
okay.
So what happens after the fact? After that's done, my personal experience, and I've bought and sold a handful of cars on. I've sold one on every auction site, and I've bought one from every auction site.
Yeah.
And I've had nothing but like really good experiences. The buyers have been like they win. I get a phone call or a text 5 minutes later. Where do you want me to send the money? They wire the money immediately, or they Venmo or whatever. It's been zero hassle. That is not always the case, and Michael has stories.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't have great stories, but it's not always smooth. And like JP said, the analogy that we've sort of coined over the last few years to try and explain to people what the business is all about, because of this massive proliferation during COVID that, with all this money coming in, people started buying these assets and they couldn't go, fly around the country to go look at things in person. So there was this mass adoption of BAT and all of the undercards, that became, it became normal to buy a car sight unseen. Yeah. It's still playing go fish. You don't know what card you're going to overturn. Is the car going to be good? Is the person I'm transacting going to be good? Is the paperwork and the transport going to be good? You need the sun, the moon, the stars, your biorhythms. Everything has to line up to have a smooth experience. JP's a good person, and I think, a little bit of energy smiles back down on him. He's had some really good results. I'm a wonderful person. I've had some terrible.
He's a much better person than me.
I'm a freaking Boy Scout compared to this guy. And
hey, I actually am a Boy Scout. Thank you very much.
Eagle. I no further questions. You're winning. Anyways, but I have, I've had a couple of peanut gallery things, and I had a car that didn't make reserve, but BAT sold the car and cut it out of their take. You know what I mean? So they crossed the delta between the high bid and my reserve to the tune of like $3,000. I couldn't believe it. So it was really interesting to see some things happen. Well,
hold on, Deep. You got to probably explain that for people. What happens is if the buyer premium is $5,000, say, right? BAT caps it at $5,000. So if the buyer premium reaches, say, $5,000, and the underbid, the highest bid is, call it $3,000 underneath the reserve, the auction platform reserves the right to make up the difference by taking it out of their buyer premium that they get from the buyer. So because they would rather have a car sell. So they're going, we'd rather make $2,000 then no dollars.
Yeah.
So they'll make up the difference. So that's something to think about that can be a benefit.
So when that happens, do they just then reach out to the high bidder and be like, hey, are you interested in it at the price that you bid at?
No. You're contractually obligated to transact at that price.
Even if it doesn't meet the reserve?
Because they're putting the money in.
Hold on.
Reserve, right?
The platform is putting the money in. When you got to be, who is they? The platform. Let's just use round numbers. The reserve is $103,000. And the highest bid is $100,000. That means there's a $5,000 buyer premium that the platform will collect from the buyer on top of the $103,000. Right. Mm-hmm. So when you win, so let's say you bid the $100,000, but it didn't meet reserve. It won't even tell you that, right? You won't even know as the highest bidder because you don't know. They keep the reserve private. So let's say you bid $100,000, no one else bids above you. The platform will say, okay, this car is sold because we're going to collect that $5,000 an addition from the buyer, and we're going to give that $3,000 spread delta to the seller, and we're going to keep the net $2,000.
Gotcha.
So the buyer, they just write a check for $100,000 and then $5,000 comes out of their credit card and goes to BAT. And the seller, takes $100,000 and BAT gives them a check for $3,000. It's kind of weird, but that's yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Huh. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense that they would build margin in for themselves and then just decide what to do with it.
Here's the secret sauce for every site that's doing this. And this accounts for the luxury live auctions. This accounts for Barrett Jackson and Meekum. Sell-through rate is a talking point. It's a bragging point.
Okay.
If you're not operating at an 80 to 85% sell-through rate, then you're not doing your job correctly. So if it means biting the bullet on a portion of your buyer's premium to keep your sell rate up and make both your buyer and seller on this particular lot happy, you gotta make that. That's a math game, and you're paying for your own marketing in real time in that moment. And again, when you're running over 100 lots a day, it's okay if you kind of poop bed on 10 of them, as long as the other 70 go through naturally. You push like X-Lax, you push a few through, a dozen or so, and there you go. You got 100 lots, you did 82. You got 82 across the line, even if 10 or 12 of them needed help.
Interesting.
Yeah. Huh. And they're still making money on those cars.
It makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Hey, I'm wondering if we could show you a Craigslist car that Ian and I have discussed recently. If you could put your brain on it and kind of give us what you think it might really go for. Would you guys be willing to do that?
Sure.
Okay.
Keep in mind that we'll talk about this, but it's like asking prices for classifieds versus sale prices on auction sites. You would think, okay, the sales price on the auction site's probably going to be lower than the asking price. And it started out when these auction sites first came around, when BAT first started doing this. Those were and even Cars and Bids and PCAR Market, you went there to get a deal. Now it's to find the car you want. Right. So you actually pay a premium at the auction, not a lower amount. So we very often see asking prices on Craigslist and marketplace ads that are lower than what they would actually sell for on BAT. That is pretty common.
Yeah, and I'm not going to disclose too much, but JP may have bought a car on a Craigslist and flipped it on an auction site for a handsome profit. But I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't there. I've never met the guy. That's only what I heard.
If you're identifying something that is sought after, then that's what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Diamond in the rough,
Yeah.
Don calls me all the time, and he's like, wheels and a steering wheel. What do you think? And I'm like, oh, come on, man. Are we really doing this right now? I'm like, all right, hold on. I had to tell my wife and my baby, like, hold on, I got to answer John's text because he's about to do something really stupid.
So then the question is evolved a little bit. Should Ian and I purchase this car that we're about to show you so that we can sell it on Bring a Trailer?
100%.
Let's see what do you got?
Okay, dude, buckle your asses up. I don't know if you're ready for this.
You're asking an alcoholic if you should buy more beer.
Okay, this is a 1999 Oldsmobile Bravada base car.
No.
Yeah. No, Mental should buy it. Mental needs a pace car. Mental needs a pace car and a pacemaker. No, the car you guys should have bought was the Geo Metro Tracker with the little tractor wheels on it in Denver.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's a couple blocks from my house right now. I could go get it. Yeah.
That's the car that you guys, JP would have told you to buy in a heartbeat, but it wasn't for sale, was it?
No, it was just, there's somebody who lives about 5 blocks from me who has just impeccable taste in cars. At one point they had an old 70s F-150 like with sundowner stripes. I mean, gorgeous in like this dark green with like the sundowner thing, and an original Mini Cooper. That was their 2-car garage, which I think is maybe the perfect 2-car garage.
Yeah.
And they just rotate just wild stuff in and out all the time. I don't know their story or anything, but it's
Ian,
great.
the show after you were on, JP selected a Jeep Grand Cherokee with like 285,000 miles on it, and they put the
it wasn't a Grand Cherokee. It was a Cherokee Sport.
Cherokee Sport with the 6-cylinder and the automatic, and it had like 200,000 miles and was rusting through in Minnesota, and they had put a brand new Dominator truck track system on it, just like the Geo thing, but it was all black and had these big, huge trackers, not like the Geo had little tiny cute ones that looked like they were left in the dryer too long. But John loved that car, and I laughed because I'm from San Francisco. I don't speak mountain. I don't understand.
Right.
I was like, why would anybody buy this?
Boy.
Yeah, absolutely soft hands. So JP thought it was hilarious, and it failed to sell. This thing's really cool. How many miles are on this?
12,000. Yeah.
What is it? This is what? A Buick what?
This is an Oldsmobile Bravada, VIN number 1. If I refresh this, is it going to be sold, JP? What the hell?
It's a pace car.
No,
I just bought it. You're screwed.
Dave, when's your birthday?
I don't want to tell you because I don't want this car.
What month is your birthday?
It's November 30th is my birthday.
You could buy this car on your birthday. I promise. It'll still be there.
Yeah,
right.
Nice.
It's a really small market that's looking for a green and white pace truck. Pace truck. Why do they call it a pace car? That's hilarious.
Because it was for the Indy Racing League. Yeah.
Oh, is that right? The IRL?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Ostensibly. Yeah.
At 25 grand, So there's a lot of cars like the LeBaron and stuff like this that definitely fits into, like, they call them young timers because anything that's in the 80s and 90s kind of fits into that category. If you can get them at a whimsy, it's like, okay, it's $5,000 or it's $10,000, whatever, fine. This will be a fun thing to have. But you start getting into that 15, 20 or more, and it's like, no, it's got to actually have some intrinsic value above and beyond its nostalgia play. And this is just not a good car in the first place. So with it being a bad car at its core, even though it's got 12,000 miles, I mean, it's a Oldsmobile. No one's nostalgic for an Oldsmobile that isn't already an old person in a home. I mean, this is not for, there's no millennials or Z generations going, oh yeah, my grandparents had one of these, so I want one. So I'm going to spend $24,000, maybe 5 or 10, but
Now, I will say there are some ride or dies for Oldsmobiles. Like there's some kids who are really into Oldsmobile on the internet now, but they want Auroras. They don't want a Bravada.
Let me give you some numbers to crystallize what's going on here. The MSRP on this car was $31,000, so they were all about $35,000, right?
Okay.
ABB fair purchase price today is $2,200 for a 1999 Oldsmobile Bravada. Yeah. So the fact that they're asking, and again, I mean, take retail book at $10,000 or $8,000 or whatever. They're asking probably 100% over retail book for this car because of the paint job and the low miles. There is no Oldsmobile Bravada in the world that's worth over book. So, as a novelty, they price themselves out of a novelty purchase. What JP's saying is it'd be fun to get if it was less expensive than retail, but this is probably 100% over retail. Nobody's going to, that car will be available on
yeah. Well, Deep, don't you think, I mean, it's like, it's one thing you can definitely get overbooked. I could see this car if the book value is what, $2,200.
$2,200.
Yeah, I could see this
fair
if it's VIN number one, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but like
That's
I could see, I could see getting 5 or 10x of that. No, anything under 10 grand can be a joke buy.
Right.
You know what I mean? There are people that will spend 10 grand on, because like before all, we have a drinking game on our show. Every time I say inflation, 5,000, 5,000 is the new 2,000, 10,000 is the new 5,000. Do the math. And so 10,000 is the new 5,000. So 10,000 is throwaway money for a lot of people. People will throw away 10 grand. Oh, look, it's like my LeBaron, right? That LeBron that sold for about $6,000 on Cars and Bids in 2020 would probably bring somewhere around 12 now, the exact same car brought to market, because it is a nice car, and it's actually kind of a fun car, unlike this Bravada. Right. I mean, having 3 pedals in anything classic makes it worth a premium. This car doesn't have a nice driving experience. It doesn't look good. There's no utility factor, even though it is an SUV. It's just like nobody. Yeah, it's going to sit there for a long time.
We had the same instinct.
Ian, could you run the show for a bit? I need to unsend some emails.
Can you cancel a bank check? Is it too late?
Yeah.
Dave, how much did you put down on it?
Right. Yeah. Thank you for entertaining us, because this Bravada's probably gotten more press than it did ever. So yeah.
I'm guessing retail book on this car is $10,000 to $12,000 with the single pace thing, the number one VIN number and the low miles. Retail book is 10 or 12. So if they had priced this thing at 15 instead of 25, I think they'd get calls. But at 25, Dave, if you want it, it'll still be available on your birthday.
Okay.
If this were on BAT, I would bid $14,999. I don't think it would make 15. Yeah, okay. That's where I would be.
And you wouldn't feel too good about that, huh?
I mean, I think you'd be fine. It's
not when I bid first at 11.
Going over deep is not something I do typically. But
I'm usually the high bidder.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm the optimist. Yeah, he's the dark cloud over there.
I'm always worried about World War III and inflation and all that stuff. So I'm like, whatever. Nobody's gonna want a car now. Okay, maybe this car could be good in apocalypse, right? Does it fit the whole, can this be a terrorist technical? Can you cut the roof off and put a machine gun up there? I don't know.
I feel like keeping a low profile in the apocalypse is a good idea.
Bright green and white stripes. Good point. Stick with the Toyota for the technical. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we run out of time, I want to make sure that we get to a game. We play a game on this show where we match vanity license plates.
Yes, I saw you guys do one. That was awesome.
With cars.
Thanks, Michael.
And it really rewards gross generalizations. And I created one for you guys. And Dave can play along with you. Yeah. He may have seen one of them before. I can't remember. But
I have the memory of a goldfish, so who knows?
JP, Ian takes this very seriously. I mean, he brings like reason and critical thinking to it. I was so impressed that he just didn't go, I don't know. And then Dave gave him the answers. Like, Ian put a lot of thought into it and then got all 3 of them right.
See.
That was pretty good. Right. There was the Jeep, the CLA 250, and the Subaru. I was so impressed. I was like, damn.
He is a plate whisperer. Is what
my God.
Okay.
You know what, though?
It's cultural learnings of the United States. I think Borat would be good at this.
Yeah, no, I think you're going to be great because you just trust your instincts.
Yep.
People tell on themselves with their vanity plates more than you would think. So you'll do fun. You'll do just fine.
Yeah. Well, if you take it in.
Dave, you'll have to promise me you'll zoom in on the tires like he did on the Jeep and the bumper and the paint.
We will
on
do
the
zoom and
Mercedes
enhances.
was
Absolutely.
very good.
Absolutely.
Zoomies and
Yes.
enhances. Yes.
Yes.
So this one is called Toy Box.
Oh, shit.
Okay. Here we go. All right. So up top, we have a silver Mercedes SLK. Yep. Okay. Then we have a dark gray Toyota 4Runner. In the middle here, standard Colorado package. And then what is that? That's an SQ5 sitting down there on the bottom. And
I believe
the
yes.
graphite gray.
Yes.
Okay. Those aren't the vegetable peeler wheels, but those are close.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. But JP, clearly the star boy is going to be the Mercedes. I would think. The question is, what does D&R toy mean? Is that anything dirt and road?
Yeah. So we have Toy
What- I
Boy,
can't-
Star
it's super
Toy,
small.
and
It's
DNR
super
Toy.
small.
Oh yeah. Here you go. So here's the plates.
D and R. Okay.
Yeah.
D&R?
People getting fancy with ampersands. What the hell?
I didn't know you could use an ampersand in a.
Some of
in a-
these states have gone because we have people from like around the country now who are sending us these things, and people
You can get hearts in
Yeah,
California.
you can get emojis in in now.
Yeah.
Fancy.
True. What was their
Kids
plate?
these days.
Eggplant, peach, left pointing finger.
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
Okay. So we have DNR Toy, Star Toy, and Toy Boy as the plates.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the silver SLK with a little bit of curb. They pulled too far up on the parking block. Yeah.
Got a handicap. We got a handicap dangly.
Yeah.
You got
And what is with
main
this
plates.
grill? That wasn't factory, was it?
Yeah, that looks like the concept car had a hole covered grill with like single holes, like almost like Band-Aid dots.
Okay.
That was the concept car's grill. It didn't have louvers or an egg crate like the production car did, but the concept was that, I don't know, almost looked like an electric car before we knew what those were.
And am I off in thinking that the headlights aren't right too? Like
No,
something
that's-
seems weird around like the
It's
surround.
because they're actually clear. They went through and they bought those cleaning things because most of them you see are all fogged up.
Yeah,
so
I was
you can
gonna
actually
say,
see the
okay.
details in them. Yeah, they went to
Thank
the
you.
O'Reillys. Yeah,
I think
is that
this
an
was like a-
LGBT? Is that an LGBT license plate frame? I can't tell. It's so small.
It's Maine. It's from
yeah, it's
Maine.
Maine.
It just
It
says
looks
Maine.
rainbowy.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Fairly
So,
stock
Will you scroll down to the next car for us?
we
Yeah.
have a handicap car, and then what generation 4Runner is that? That's like a
That's like a, I don't know,
2010?
2015 to, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a Colorado plate, JP.
okay.
Yep. Trailer,
It's
you got a trailer
dealer-
hitch.
Trailer
Has a
hitch.
dealer installed license plate frame, so not
Yeah.
much to go on there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then lastly, the SQ5 California plate, like a Los Angeles car dealer plate frame. It's got the roof bars.
Yep.
And yeah. And that's really it. Nothing really kind of stands out to me on this one.
So
all right.
so how's this work? So who go
So you're going to do
one
highlights
car at a time?
magazine style, right? You're going to match the text to the car. You guys can work together co-op mode, or you guys can come up with your own answers. It's up to you.
Mhm.
So do you start with car 1 and then everybody makes a guess, and then car 2 everybody makes a guess, car 3, or do you just go all 3 in one swoop? Like
There are no rules here. Cats,
No rules.
Dogs.
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't
I mean,
matter.
my
Cats
gut's
and dogs
telling me
living
that
together.
Toy Boy is jumping out as the 4Runner just because Toyota folks love to lean into the toy, but that's my take.
You are incorrect, sir. It's DNR is dirt
Oh,
and
DNR.
road toy. So that
and road
means
toy.
the 4Runner is
Colorado.
D&R, dirt and road toy. That is the
Okay.
correct answer.
So
Okay.
that's what was my first question. I still think the star toy is the Mercedes because of the 3-pointed star, and then the toy boy, which could be. Well, anyways, I think that could be.
Yeah, the toy boy is the Audi because he's got his skis
Yeah.
on the roof rack. He's got his kayak He has his whatever the hell else toys that he puts up there and in the back, and he goes hiking and he goes driving around and he thinks he's a toy boy. Should be soy boy, but that's fine. We know what we're talking about here. And I'm with Deeb on the star toy being the convertible, but I don't think it's because of the star on the hood. I think this another low status person. This is a person that's going to get into.
No, you can see the stars. They're all up there.
They're going to get deep in the comments. Look, our number one most commented video on any of the hundreds of episodes that we've done was the episode we did on an AMG SLK. SLK people think so highly of themselves. They think they're the greatest cars in the world. They think anyone that doesn't think and doesn't recognize the SLK as the greatest car to ever have been put on this God's green earth. If you don't think that the SLK is like peak automobile, then you are just subhuman trash, and you should be burned in one of those chambers that had the same logo on the side of it back in the 40s. Yeah, the star toy is definitely the convertible. See, I fit a Holocaust joke in there just for Deeb.
Is this the part of the podcast where I unveil my Chrysler Crossfire full back tattoo?
Yeah. Yes. You become a permanent nerd on the show with us.
Yeah. The SLK guys will not recognize you with your Crossfire. Sorry.
Okay.
You don't get to wear the same hoodie with them.
It sounds like the bid nerds are in cahoots. You guys have
I like Star Toy for the SLK, but I'm gonna flip Toy Boy and DNR Toy. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Well,
So Toy Boy on the Colorado 4Runner and DNR on the Audi, huh?
Yeah, DNR because I think it might be a wacky mountain bike person.
All right. Yeah. Could be.
But that's
I didn't see the long things for the wheels on the crossbars, and I would think bike person.
No, they don't have trays up.
Yeah, there's nothing on the crossbar, so there's just the crossbar. So you can do that's Colorado.
Wanting to be a mountain biker and telling people you're a mountain biker is very different from being a mountain biker.
Right.
Well, hold on. Why do you think DNR is on the Audi? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think that's like the person that wants to advertise more that they are a dirt and road kind of person. That they I don't know, for some reason that's what my gut's telling me, that they're more interested in telling you what they are doing than actually doing it.
Yeah. But see, the lack of the bike rig and the lack of the kayak attachment and the lack of any of those specific things means that it's agnostic to all of them, which means toy boy being plural, lots and lots of toys. They couldn't afford the S. They could have been Toys Boy. That would have been weird.
I think that we all might be losing because we're trying to bring reason to something that fucking crazy people do.
Yeah, Dave, you see what I'm up against? Instead of just saying, "Oh, okay, that's what you pick," he's trying to convince you that his pick is correct. That's what I have to deal with every night on the podcast.
So man, I'm going to say this segment has been extremely successful in that you guys have given just really, really impassioned arguments on all sides for answers that are 100% incorrect.
Oh no, is that right? Where are you at?
Do you want me to show the answers?
Let's reveal the answers.
Oh my god!
Here we go. We have DNR toy on the SLK. Are you fucking kidding
That's
me?
totally shop.
I said Toy Boy on the 4Runner. Yeah. Okay. Star Toy.
Jokes on you.
Dirty cheaters.
Jokes on you. I don't know how to Photoshop. My read on this is this is DNR toy. This is a lovely older, retired couple who finally got their convertible, their Mercedes convertible, right?
Yeah.
And that's their
toy. This is Dennis and Rhonda. Yeah.
Right.
Deborah and Ronald.
Yes.
It's dead and rich.
Yeah. And then if you go down, I did cheat a skosh. So Toy Boy, Toyota Boy, right? I cheated a little bit on the Audi because I covered up a little bit of the license plate frame, this is a Los Angeles Stars license plate frame.
Okay.
What is it, Starboy? You know what? That might
Star Toy.
Yeah,
Star Toy.
the toy box selection of cars.
Yeah.
Because Starboys, those were the early crotch rocket wheelie guys that back in the 2000s. But
Yeah.
I gotta go, guys.
Yes. Well, your timing is good because we are done. Michael and JP, thank you so much for joining us. I had a ton of fun on your show. I hope you had fun on our show.
Oh, for sure.
Good time. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. And everybody else, text us 720-515-1391. We love you. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye. Bit
There you go.
Nerds, Sunday and Wednesday night, live.
On the
6:30.
YouTube. On the YouTubes.
On the tubes.